Casey.
The Bee Felon.
She's a year older. Did you hear that? Oh, at the beginning. All she did was lean forward.
Getting older, so much fun.
Isn't it though?
It is.
Alright. This is Render the Darkness, by the way.
I was going to say,
that. We're not going to say it anymore. If you don't know by now, I'm just kidding. We are Render the Darkness.
See, everybody would
my
miss
glasses
this.
to fall off my head. They would miss your fingers in front of my face at the beginning of every episode.
That's in front of your face. That's in front of your face. This is in front of my face.
Alright, so today we are doing our WTF case.
Yay!
Well, my WTF case. Mine.
Okay. Is that much?
It's mine. Okay, so before I do that, I would like to address the little thingy thing.
Okay, I don't know what's going on, so y'all are going to be, or I'm going to be as surprised as y'all are.
Yeah, she usually is. Nobody really knows what's going to come out of this. But anyways, I would just like to say thank you so much to all of our fans. And thank you so much to everybody that has commented and that may comment in the future. But just know ahead of time that we are both very socially awkward. That's why we are doing a podcast together as sisters, because we're comfortable with one another. And those are pretty much, we're our only friends outside of our husbands and you guys. So just know ahead of time that we want you to comment. We love that you comment. We hope that you comment. If we respond, just know that we have asked each other 2 or 3 times if it sounds good, if it sounds rude, if it sounds polite. Like, we've assessed the response ahead of time, and we have confirmed with one another that it's okay, but we're socially awkward, so that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always portrayed the way to us that, like, portrayed to you guys the way that it is to us when we say it. So just know that our intention is never to offend anyone. It's never to hurt anybody's feelings. It's never, ever, anything negative is never our intention. So just know that. We're just socially awkward and we don't really know how to talk to people, but we want to talk to people. We love talking to people when we can. So don't be shy, guys. Comment. You're going to get like a wild card answer. For sure. And if it's weird, that is just our personalities coming out in that comment. If you watch the show, you know that we can't help it. We was born that way. It's not our fault. Okay, that being said, let's get on to my WTF case.
It's so hot.
It's so hot in here. Like, we're in my office and there's no air conditioning, no fan, no nothing. The window is closed. So we're like breathing each other in right now. Not my first choice of sentence, but it's what we've got. So let's get this sucker rolling. Alright, so this case is going to be about bizarre deaths in history. I just did like a compilation of some really strange deaths that I came across. First, I will do my fun fact. And I thought it only appropriate to do a fun fact about death, given the topic of this one. So, the fun fact is about cremation. For those that believe when a loved one or a person has been cremated and their ashes have been returned to you, that's not actually true. What you're actually being given back is the skeletal remains of your loved one that have been ground up, because once they get put into the cremation machine or the incinerator, the only thing left is the bones, which are then put into a specialized blender, which are then ground down to dust. So you're essentially getting back the skeleton of your loved one. For those that didn't know that.
Interesting.
All right. So we're going to get on to the first bizarre death in history. And this one goes way, way back to the BC time period. And we're going to be talking about a fella named Draco, or Dracon.
I like that name. Draco.
Yeah. He was known as the lawgiver. He was actually the first legislator of Athens, Greece. He put in place the constitution that the court was to use to enforce his laws, but from what I read, he was known for being unreasonably harsh. Like, the penalty for breaking any of his laws at all pretty much was death.
Oh.
So, you know, you killed somebody, death. You stole a carrot, death. So
That seems a little,
yeah.
what's the word?
Not very well balanced for one.
Yeah, for sure.
Punishment definitely did not usually fit the crime.
No.
And the laws were put on display so that all the public could see them. Therefore, they would have no excuse to break them in his perspective.
Okay.
Now that we have an idea of who he was, let's talk about how he supposedly died. Somehow, this dude was still extremely popular, and one night he made a stage appearance at a theater in, I'm going to say, Agena. Afterwards, the crowd was so pleased and enthused with his performance that, according to records, they opted to honor him in a traditional Greek way, which was they began throwing clothes on top of him. It said that they threw so many articles of clothing on him that he suffocated to death.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Why didn't he move?
I don't know.
They just stand there and was just like, clothe me, and then...
Well, you know, when it was happening, I was asking him, but it was almost like he had a muffled sound, like his voice was muffled. I was asking him a question. I don't know. I wasn't there. Was it like, Draco, why aren't you moving?
I'm just, the question just came to my mind, like, why didn't he move? I mean, once they got up to, like, here, why didn't he just...
Well, okay, so, like, in his defense, because you're making it sound like this idiot, like, in his defense, they weren't, like, starting at his feet and working their way up. Like, they were throwing hats on his head and stacking hats, and they were throwing scarves around his neck, and they were
weren't, like, on the floor?
They were not,
like,
no, they were, like,
they
were, like, physically putting these clothes items on him.
That makes
Give them a little credit, Fallon.
Well, as soon as you said it, all I could picture was him on a stage, and people are just going,
like, trying to dodge stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like, why is he letting it pile up? Why don't you just step out of it? But that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Do on me. All I could picture.
Okay, so fun fact about this little part of the case before I move on is that the word draconian actually comes from him, and it means unforgiving law or laws that are excessively harsh. Okay, so our second bizarre death we're going to talk about is the Roman Emperor Valerian.
Valerian?
Mm-hmm. Or Valerian. I'm going to say Valerian.
I like Valerian.
Valerian served as emperor of Rome from 253 to 260 AD. He was the first Roman emperor to be captured. He was captured, and if I butcher these names, I'm sorry, it's not on purpose. Arkansas, that's all I got. He was captured by Sapor the First, king of Persia, during the Battle of Edessa. Some sources say that he was captured during the battle, and some sources say he was captured after the battle, so throwing that out there, just because I don't know which version is correct. Again, I wasn't there. According to...
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. I have great skin if I was. According to old writings, Valerian was held captive for many years and was regularly insulted and humiliated by his captors. And one day, as the story goes, Valerian had reached his level of humility and offered Sapor a bribe, a grand bribe. Sapor responded by pouring molten hot gold down Valerian's throat.
Ow.
Yeah.
I just lost my voice there for a second.
Little gold got stuck. Oh, sure, that was a coincidence. There are other sources that say Sapor actually filleted Valerian open while he was still alive, but the most told version is the gold version.
Ooh, either way, ouch.
Yeah. Well, it gets worse too. It's also said that after his death, as a gesture of further humiliation, Sapor had Valerian skinned, had him stuffed with straw, and hung him up for all to see.
Oh my gosh, so it was a human scarecrow?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Poor guy.
I did read that there was some kind of a battle that happened after he had done that, and they I don't remember if they won or they lost, but after that battle happened, he did take it down and burn the skin or return the skin or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't like stay up for long, but he did have it up for a little while. That is actually written, in fact. Okay, So we're going to move on to number 3. Grigory Rasputin.
What?
Grigory Rasputin.
We'll say it the way you said it the first time.
Grigory Rasputin. You know, I only did that because, and this is not sponsored, but I only did that because when I was writing this one, all I kept thinking about was what we do in the shadows. Gregor!
Oh, yeah, okay.
Not sponsored.
Great
Sorry,
show.
Nadja. I know, it's a terrible impression, but...
Nandor. Oh, I miss
All right, so most people are well aware of who Rasputin was, and his death was really bizarre for a completely different reason than the previously mentioned 2 deaths. For those that don't know who he was, I'm assuming you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, most people know. It's like...
I caught the expression. I was like, yeah, she doesn't know. Okay, so he was considered a faith healer, and it was believed he possessed magical powers. He had been acting as a faith healer for the Emperor of Russia, Nicholas II's son, Alexei Nikolaevich, who was suffering from a chromosomal disorder that primarily affects males called hemophilia. But of course, this was the early 1900s, like around 1905, 1906 time frame, so they didn't know that then.
Okay.
Long story short, it began to be believed that Rasputin was heavily manipulating the royal family, therefore leading to his assassination. How was he assassinated, you might ask?
Yes, please.
If you don't already know, which you probably don't, if your name is Fallon, and you're a host of this podcast.
Rude.
2 men, specifically Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich and Prince Felix Yusupov, they felt like Rasputin's influence over the royal family had become too great, so they decided to lure him to the palace of Prince Felix. And according to Prince Felix himself, Rasputin was fed tea and cake laced with cyanide. Rasputin supposedly initially refused to eat the cakes, but then eventually did eat the cake. So he ate a cake and he drank 3 glasses of wine, all laced with cyanide, and he had 0 reaction to it.
Ooh.
So growing impatient, Prince Felix then got a gun and shot Rasputin in the chest. Somehow, again, he seemed unaffected, although pissed, unaffected.
Wow.
So he proceeded to chase Prince Felix into the courtyard and was shot again. Then he was captured, his hands were tied, and he was thrown in the Neva River. His body would be found several days later, washed onto shore, but the rope that his hands had been bound with, it was gone, indicating that he had actually managed to free his hands before succumbing to the temperatures and the water.
Okay.
It was determined that he drowned, so was he a healer? Like, why did it take so much to kill this dude? Like, this was a strong man.
Yeah, cyanide. Which, I mean, I wonder, which I've heard or I've read things like back in the day, people would actually take like cyanide, things like that, like small doses just to kind of get used to it or get
acclimated. So you're thinking maybe they just didn't put enough in it?
Yeah,
I don't know. Because even if you put a tiny bit in that, by the time you've consumed a cake and 3 glasses of wine laced with it, it should be a pretty good amount, or at least enough to have some kind of effect. If nothing else, make him sleepy, make him dizzy, make him something.
Oh, I guess they just...
But, you know, some people have adverse effects to things, so maybe he just had like an adverse... I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Maybe he was a healer. Maybe he did have some kind of magical powers. Like, why did it take so much to kill him? That seems like a really excessive amount of things.
Yeah, the gunshot, like, that...
Like, some sources said that he was shot twice, and some sources said that he was shot 3 times. So, I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was probably 3, because he just seemed like it was really hard to kill. All right, so on to our next one, which is Duke of Jing of Jin. Duke Jing of Jin held position as monarch of the Jin state, and he had taken over for his father, Duke Chang. According to Chinese text formed the Zuo Zhuan, one night around 580 to 581 BC, Duke Jing had a bad dream. He dreamt of a vengeful spirit, which inspired him to speak to a shaman when he woke up. The The shaman would make the mistake of telling the Duke that he would die before he had the chance to eat any of the new wheat harvest. Well, when the Duke managed to live until the harvest was ready, he had the shaman brought to him so he could show him the success of the harvest. Once the Duke knew the shaman had seen the new wheat and confirmed that the new shaman was quote unquote wrong about his prediction, he had the shaman killed.
Because he didn't die?
Yeah. He had the shaman executed.
Okay.
So, once the shaman was unalived, the Duke was just about to enjoy his wheat when he had an urge to use the bathroom. He did, and he fell into the toilet and died.
I'm sorry, what?
He went to the bathroom, and he fell into the toilet, and he died. Well, they didn't have, like, toilets back. They had holes.
Yeah, no, but for some reason, whenever you said that, I just thought of a regular toilet.
No, they had holes. Like, he fell into the toilet hole. Okay, is that better?
Like
they
an
fell
outhouse,
into the, like the...
Well, no, they probably didn't have an outhouse.
They had, like, they'd stacked the bricks, like a well, I guess, that they
like
had
that.
designated to... Anyway, he fell in it, and he died. So, ironically, he did actually die before he ever got to eat any of the new harvest wheat. So, Shaman was actually correct.
Died for no reason.
Yeah. A little bonus, bizarre death to this case is that I also read that the slave who carried the Duke's body out of the toilet had a dream about being the one who carried the Duke up to heaven, and this prompted the slave to be buried with Duke, insistent upon being the Duke's servant in the afterlife.
Holy crap. So, moral of the story is don't tell anybody about your dreams.
I tell everybody about my dreams.
Yeah.
I tell them all. So it's okay, so like, total side note, but like, for me personally, it's really weird because like, I can't remember some of the things that I did yesterday, but I can remember every detail of every dream I have ever had my whole life. I mean in detail, right down to what somebody was wearing, the color of their shirt, the style of shoes. Like, I remember all of it. I used to keep a dream journal, which was actually really therapeutic, but I lost the journal because awake, I can't remember shit. Asleep, I can remember it. Oh, it's weird. It's like some kind, like, it's not just dreaming to me. It's like I slip into some other, like, world or something. I don't know. Anyway.
What is that called? Like when you go to another dimension, or what is it called?
They made not a premonition. I can't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to our next one, and it is Milo of Croton, who was a Greek athlete who was famous for multiple things, but largely for being an Olympic champion, 6 times actually, for wrestling.
Ooh.
It's also noted that he continued to wrestle well beyond the years a normal athlete at the time would have. It's also written that he led the army that defeated the Sybarites, and he was dressed all out when he did it. It's recorded he was wearing the wreath he had won in the Olympics, he was wearing the skin of a lion, and it's recorded he was wielding a club. His wardrobe was compared to that of Hercules.
Sounds familiar.
I don't know. Milo is often credited for setting the precedents for strength training amongst athletes striving to gain the physique of a Greek god. His strength was recorded as over the top astonishing. He would often create challenges to test his strength, and sometimes he would do things to test himself, like he would carry a full-grown cow on his shoulders, which is why his death came as such a shock. It's written a couple different ways, but either way, the part that's consistent is that Milo came across a stump or a tree trunk with wedges placed into it, signifying someone was attempting to split the trunk. In one more test of his strength, Milo attempted to split the tree by hand. The trunk managed to open slightly, enough for the wedges to fall out, but it quickly closed, locking Milo's hand inside the tree. After that, unfortunately, Milo was attacked by some sources say a lion, and other sources say wolves. Yeah, there's actually a pretty incredible statue of Milo in Holland Park in London. I'll attach a copy of the image for that statue in the show notes so anyone interested or anyone who hasn't seen it can see it. The statue was created by a man named Damius, who was also from Crotona. There are also many statues depicting the scene of the supposed lion attack as well, The link I'm attaching for the image of that statue is the one created by Pierre Puget. And that was my case on bizarre deaths in history.
Wow, those are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Especially, well, I mean, especially, but like the toilet one.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just
Yeah.
automatically assumed he just like went to a regular toilet. It was just like,
No, it was
then the guy on the
but like out of all the ones that I read, if there was a death that was like karma coming back at somebody, it would be that one. Because not only did he actually die before he ate the wheat, like the shaman predicted, but then he had to die by falling in a disgusting toilet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, that's a shameful ass death.
Yeah.
But he just murdered an innocent man, like right before that. So I don't feel bad making a joke about it. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, oh, well, I didn't die, so.
And the thing was, and the thing was that, like, the shaman didn't say he was going to die before the harvest was complete. He said he was going to die before he had a chance to eat the new harvest.
Right, yeah.
Which he hadn't attempted to do yet. So he definitely prematurely killed that man.
Yes.
Obviously.
For sure.
And the man didn't even do anything. Also, if he did say that and he turned out to be wrong, like, isn't that a good thing? He was wrong. Like, what are you killing the man for?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Out of all the ones that I mentioned, that one would definitely be karma.
People back in the day.
Yeah. Like, there were so many deaths that I could have done for this that were pretty interesting, but I wanted to stick around the later dated ones. Just because once you get past, like, the early 1900s, you start rolling into, like, that whole Darwin's list and all that stuff, and I didn't want to, because that's going to be a whole other case by itself.
Yeah.
So, eventually, I am going to do a Darwin case. But for today, this is just my WTF case, and these are the deaths I chose. I hope that you enjoyed it, and you enjoyed hanging out with us today, and that's our time.
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It was really cute.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I almost included the death about the guy who was who had a turtle dropped on his head by an eagle.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think it was I don't know if he was a Greek god or not, but I think it was like around that time period. But I did read about it. I just can't remember all the details. But I almost included that, but I talked myself out of it because I couldn't pronounce his name. So
I've done that. I've changed the case before. I couldn't pronounce. Like,
I'm not trying to offend anybody. Yeah. Like, if I know that I am just way off on what I'm trying to say, I usually will find a way to not include that.
Yeah.
For example, I wasn't confident about Prince Felix's last name, which is why instead of referring to him as in his last name as I normally would do, that's why I continued to call him Prince Felix, because I knew I was saying that right. So, anyway, there's a method to my madness sometimes.
Always. Sometimes.
So, yeah. Don't be nice to me. Anyway, other than that, that's our case, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you. And if you like what we do, please like, follow, subscribe, say hi.
Yeah. Howdy.
Howdy.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot.
So. It's so hot. Yeah, we're going to go, you guys. So we appreciate it so much. Bye.
Bye.
The good news is we don't have to do a TikTok because I'm putting it out tomorrow. So
sweet.
We can get